Hey, Mike.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right.
Mr. Ice Storm.
Man, I'll tell you,
Pretty nasty.
yeah, down in Rhode Island where I worked, it just rained all day. But as I came north, it got 4 degrees cooler and everything was ice. It was awful. All right. Just you and me so far, buddy.
The on-timers will call us.
Yeah, that's right.
So who do we have? Owen Moon tonight?
Owen Moon, yes, sir.
Sounds good.
Which he should be here shortly. He texted me a little while and asked what time we'd be on. So,
Hey, Ted wants to have a conversation with us. Can you do that this weekend?
yeah, absolutely.
He sent you an email, so if you want to respond to him, we're kind of open to whatever you want to do. What time?
Okay. I'll respond to him right now. Where did that email go?
Yeah, he had the ice storm down by him also.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So if I say 11 my time, that's 8 a.m. You up that early?
Oh, yeah. Please. Car guy for 40 years. I'm up 6:30 the latest.
Yeah. No such thing as sleeping late.
Nope. You'll find out in due time. It doesn't change.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Mike says the meeting does not start. What? Send Owen another link here. That's why I wonder if everybody else is saying that. Owen said that the meeting showing that it hasn't started for him.
You know, the only ones the reason why I texted you was the only one I showed was the meeting that you and I were going to have at 4:00.
Yeah.
And that one didn't work. So, and that's the one you sent through LinkedIn.
Yeah. Is that? Oh, that's the one that I sent out on LinkedIn. Was that one? Was the one for you, me, and Damon?
Well, let's see. 363. 363-972-4795 is the number I had here.
And that's
That was through LinkedIn, and then I had that same number on the text message from you. There he is.
Yeah, you know what? That's the wrong meeting ID. That's the meeting ID where you and I were supposed to do that.
Correct.
Oh.
Hey guys.
Hey,
how's it going, Owen?
I made it.
Yeah, the non-tech guy that's running this meeting sent out the wrong meeting link.
Oh yeah, I was wondering what was going on because I was telling me that it wasn't ready either. So
yeah, well now I got to go back through and send it to, to everybody that's supposed to be here.
Okay, we'll see you in about 30 minutes.
Oh, God. Anybody know any good tech guys that could do this for me?
maybe. Well, at least I wasn't the only one. I was kind of worried there for a minute, actually.
Well, I'm glad you said that it said it hadn't started yet, because that, I mean, usually by this time the room is full, and I would be sitting here with Mike like, we're the only ones here.
Yeah, and if we got to reschedule, we can. I just, I mean, obviously.
No. Once I get the link out, everybody will be here. Tony is here. Tony is a new member. He actually just joined tonight. So welcome,
Nice.
Tony.
Thank you.
Beginning's usually a little smoother than this when I don't screw this up. So apologize for starting this way. All right. Well, I'll talk while I send out links here. Hey, how you doing, buddy?
Good. How you doing?
Couldn't be better.
Good.
So typically we start with some wins for the week. Anybody that had or the past couple of weeks. I don't know if anybody has one they want to jump in with and start off with. Everybody's so quiet. So I'll go with my win then. I have a new coming on board Christmas. Many of you know I started at a new group, a new dealer, and there's certainly been some challenges as I work through the personnel that's currently there, so this is a change. The manager that's there is going to go to one of our other stores, actually become an advisor there and work from there. And I'm bringing in another guy that is coming from the aftermarket world. He has worked in dealerships as a manager and a director previously, but right now he's working for NTB running some stores. So pretty excited to get him on board. So that's my win for the last couple weeks, and hopefully my win for the next few years if it works out. So. All right. So I'll get this started. I'll continue sending out the links to the people that are supposed to be in here, and I will start this off. This session is Owen Moon with Fixed Digital, our premier sponsor here for the mastermind. Excited to have Owen here. I just found out today we're actually bringing Owen and Fixed Ops Digital into the group, the 24 Auto Group, to get some stuff started. So pretty excited to get that moving on also. And Owen, I will turn this over to you. Do you need presenter privileges, Owen? You got slides, or are you just speaking?
Yeah, I can do either or. I guess I didn't know the what you wanted me to do, so I guess give me kind of I could kind of if you give me presenter role, I can bring something up here quick. Let me find what I want here.
Hey, Dave, can you mute everybody?
Can do.
All I have is low pen.
All right, Owen, you be able to take over control of the screen there and all that.
There we go. All right, can you see my screen?
Seeing part of your screen.
How's that?
There we go. Now we got you.
All right, cool. I'm gonna just minimize this then. I didn't know if you can see me. It probably doesn't mean you can see my screen, and so I don't need to. I'll just put this on. How's that? Can you see where it says "Welcome to our service center"?
Yep.
All right, cool. How long do you want me to go here, Dave? Just so I kind of have an idea.
Owen, you can shine as long as you want. We're here at least an hour. We've been here as much as an hour and a half. So any
Okay.
information you got, we will take.
Just
Yeah,
don't pull
absolutely.
a Jason.
What was that?
Just don't pull a Jason.
Was that a few hour deal or what?
5-minute infomercial on loop.
Oh, geez. Uh-oh. Yeah, no, I won't be that. I won't do that to you guys tonight. Actually, you know, I'm a little tired tonight, so I do apologize. I just got back from a huge week in which I was out at our corporate office meeting with my team, kind of getting everything ready for 2020. From there, I flew to Fort Lauderdale for the Game Changer Conference, in which I was the fixed ops. I guess you could say I was the token fix ops speaker out there, and got a chance to give this presentation to a room full of people that were there to kind of learn, kind of figure out what they want to do for 2020, both from a sales side, from a fixed ops side, and then also Eric Thomas was down there speaking. So a lot of motivational conversations and things like that, which I think they kind of go hand in hand with today's business climate, right? I mean, you've got to motivate your team, you've got to motivate yourself. Kind of the belief system is half the battle, and then obviously from there executing kind of where you want to take your department, where you feel like you can get some wins. And so it was just great. It was a lot of great information, and it came off a fabulous week. So before I kind of jump into the presentation, I just kind of want to tell you guys a little bit about myself. As David mentioned, my name is Owen Moon. I'm the CEO of Fixed Ops Digital. We started Fixed Ops Digital January 1st of 2018. So we're going on about our third year in existence. And before that, I've spent quite a few years with dealerships, helping them, from kind of a sales side. For a while, I had a full service agency where, obviously service and fixed ops was a part of the strategy. But as things have changed and as digital sort of evolved and became what it is today, just being more of a consultant for dealerships, helping them kind of navigate through all the different strategies, all the different vendors, things like that. That's really kind of where my niche was. And I actually had some clients kind of reach out to me. There was some discussion on like, how can we move past some of our OEM mandated service reminder programs and different email blasts and direct mail and stuff like that, and really start to build more of that digital foundation that we become really good, from a sales side. And so that's sort of how Fixed Ops Digital came about. There were some things that kind of happened that we'll talk a little bit about our strategy and kind of what we're doing to help our dealership partners. But at the core of it, that's really kind of what happened. So again, we started January 2018. There was 4 of us that started the company, and or not, this is what my team looks like today. It was amazing to be out there with everybody. We flew in our accounts team from Chicago. My production and SEO team are all in Denver. And it was kind of the first time that we were all able to kind of be in the same room for 2-3 days. We had our Christmas party and really talked about kind of why we exist, what's our focus, and kind of where we're going. And so that was a pretty special moment for me because, again, starting with really no employees and kind of where we're at today. And we've got a lot of neat things happening. I'll get into that a little bit. But the idea is that, we're just trying to provide a really good service for our dealerships and really focusing our efforts on a part of the business that ultimately gets overlooked in a lot of cases when it comes to marketing. And, David, I'm sure you can kind of attest to this. I mean, to get an owner to get, management, that type of thing, to buy into the idea that you need to build a digital foundation for service sometimes is just very, it's kind of a foreign thing. I mean, they'll spend tons of money on sales, but to even try to get them to spend a little bit of money on service typically doesn't happen. And the reason why is because most dealerships, their service departments are busy. They're already at capacity in a lot of areas, and they just haven't really thought about, hey, are we really maximizing our opportunities that we have every day and that type of thing. So to kind of give you guys a little bit of why I think that fixed ops not only is important, but why it's going to become even more important as we move into the next decade, is a couple slides that I found to be very very telling. And this one was the total net profit share of sales. And of course, this was only through June of this year, but obviously you can see this number is going in the wrong direction since about 2013. Business, any other company, any other industry where 2.3% net profit, is considered, even acceptable. Most companies make good, decent margins. They got to stay in business, and they have much less risk. So in this case, I always put my hats off to the owners and people that, kind of put their necks on the line every day to create jobs and things like that. When you start looking at the profitability, continues to drop. Another thing that I looked at is, and this is obviously more for the sales side, but this number is going the wrong direction in a different way, that the total dollars per new unit sold by year continues to increase. In fact, as of June of this year, it was $628 was the cost to sell a car. So two completely different statistics kind of going in the wrong directions, and I think they're gonna end up hitting each other at some point, and really making a challenging sales environment for a lot of stores. But it's not all doom and gloom. I mean, I'm not here to try to say, hey, we might as well just fold up shop and go, because at the end of the day, where can we win? I look at basically these 5 areas as at least 5 areas where ultimately we can control it, right? Service, parts, tires, accessories, collision. These are all areas of the business that the dealership can actually make money at, and they can sort of shape how they want that department to look, within reason, obviously. I mean, the OEM's still going to have some say in that sort of thing. So that's something that we always look at, and we're always trying to figure out what the opportunities are. And so that's kind of what our company focuses on. When you look at those 5 areas, service, parts, tires, accessories, I think most dealerships handle that, and have some opportunity there. If you have a collision or a body shop department, obviously that's another thing that we can help our dealerships with, but not everybody has that, so it's not always the case. But and the way I look at it is obviously, and I think, David, you've seen some of my presentations. I created a fictitious guy. Which years, time on the job isn't always the issue there, but typically it's somebody who's been there for a while. They're kind of set in their ways. They believe that their department's at capacity. I've heard more times at the fixed ops roundtable stuff like, we do it this way because we've always done it this way. That is obviously, I think it's probably, because I haven't been in the fixed ops department in the business, for years and years. I've been handling a lot of the sales stuff. We've had some service strategies that we brought in, but to be fully, sort of entrenched into this side of the business now for the last couple of years, that's what I've been hearing more and more, is that, we've always done it this way. Why would we change? That type of thing. And I think the last one, it really kind of depends on the person as well, but it kind of is a kind of an issue, is that people don't believe that technology can actually help them. I think that obviously technology can't do it for you. It's not going to be a replacement, but it is something that if you can learn to embrace technology, if you can learn to use some of the tools that are out there, you're going to find that you're going to be a lot more efficient, a lot more productive, and at the end of the day, a lot more profitable. So what does Sleepy Stan say? You know, basically the idea is that, hey, I can't handle any more business. No one is using Google to search for service. My direct mail campaign is effective. You know, our service bays are always busy, you know, that type of thing. So I always just say, hey, look, don't be Sleepy Stan. Instead, let's focus on, you know, sort of what we can do today. And we call it the Fixed Ops digital revolution. The idea behind the Fixed Ops digital revolution is really all about these 4 key attributes, or these 4 key initiatives that we are bringing to our dealers. But even if you didn't work with us, at least you should be working towards this type of approach. Focus on more services, more education, and more recommendations. The reason why that's important is that there's a big disconnect. Now, I'm not even talking like your competitors from a dealership standpoint, whether it's like a Honda store and now you're competing with 3 or 4 other Honda stores in the same market. This is more about, are you winning some business back from the independents, right? Your Pep Boys, your Jiffy Lubes, you know, your Discount Tires. These are places where, you know, we are losing customers at specific time frames in the ownership cycle, and a lot of it is just because of lack of information. We have not done a good job as a dealership community of getting our why service mentality out there, like getting those services online, making sure that customers know, you know, not only that you have services that are available, you know, especially after the warranty's up or after some of these prepaid, you know, maintenance programs kind of expire, but more importantly, you know, that you are offering certain service at a certain price. That way, when somebody's doing some research online, trying to figure out where those opportunities are, they can actually kind of talk apples to apples. Because I think that what happens is when we don't put those pricing and those services online are looking, the lack of information that a dealership actually doesn't give the customer comes off as you guys are hiding something. Let me show you something here. I wanted to bring this up actually while we're here, because I'll leave this document up and kind of bring it back and forth. But this was a Cox study that was done earlier this year, and I was looking at it the other day just to kind of refresh some of this thing. But think about this, right? There's a value perception. Dealerships, when it comes to, you know, what they have to try to focus on to business, really have to follow, you know, the general repair service stations, your Pep Boys, your Jeep, they really kind of focus on value and convenience, or best pricing, most convenient. So quality and trust can only be given when customers understand what they're actually looking at. And so when we look at putting those more services online, making sure that we have more information about those services so the customer can really educate themselves, and then even giving some recommendations on sort of what the manufacturer is asking, are all great ways for us to sort of bring that customer along, and along the way they're going to build that trust with your dealership. Obviously, part of what we do there then is.
Hey, Owen?
Yes.
We don't see the Cox slide.
You still see the Cox slide?
Don't
We
see.
don't see it.
Oh, you didn't see it at all, huh?
Nope.
How's that? Is that better?
Nope.
Huh. Now you can see my 4 points here.
Yes.
No. Yeah, we see the Fixed Ops Digital Revolution slide. That's it. Slide 11. We're
Wow,
on.
that's weird, because I just minimized that to show you my other one, and that one's not there. So that's okay. It's not that big of a deal. I can just kind of explain it. But the idea is that again, if we know that there's a perception issue in pricing and you know, sort of the visibility or transparency, that's how we get around that, by putting those different services online. And you don't necessarily even have to have them be discounted. These can be services right off your menu board, right off of maybe a brochure that you have on your website, but in your lounge. But the idea is that if somebody comes to your lounge and they see a certain service for a certain price and they happen to go to your website, that there's going to be a matching thing there. I think this is becoming more and more of a kind of a best practice for the sales side. I think because of my sale long for the service side. So what ends up happening then is once we kind of get some of that out there on your website, things like that, Google is going to pick up these different pages, this different focus points, and actually allow you to increase your online visibility. What that means is when people are out there searching for services that you offer, we want to be able to make sure that you guys are showing up in those search results. It's no different than if somebody is searching for a plumber or maybe an electrician, some sort of a service business or service type of industry. If you're not there when the customer needs you, they're going to go to wherever Google takes them. And so usually about less than 10% of any content that is on the website is actually for service. And so that's part of our strategy, is just to make sure that we're giving more representation to your business, because that's also a good thing for Google. Because when Google sees you as, well, I'll just use David's dealership, for example. They're a Nissan store. In their little area, they're going to be the authority for sales when it comes to Nissan. What we want to do is make them the authority for service. And so increasing your online visibility through relevant website content is one way to get there. And I'll dig into all these a little bit more as we go. Increasing your service-specific website traffic. Again, it all kind of ties together. The more we can get your information out on Google, out on different search engines, get it online. When people are out there searching for these different services, which, believe it or not, is a lot more than I even thought was out there, we get you into the game, we get you the authority, and now people are clicking on your guys' links that then drive them back to your website. And just like sales, we want those people to come to your website, because now you have a captive audience where you can show them more information, you can show them more services, you can give them that more education, and ultimately we want to convert them to an opportunity, right? And in the sales side, we call it a lead, we call it an up, we call it a showroom visit, whatever. In service, obviously, it's all about appointments. It's about getting that phone call. It's about getting that online service scheduling appointment. But at the very least, what we're trying to do is make sure that we're providing the most relevant call to actions, we call them, to get the customer down that path to the ultimate prize, which for you guys is an appointment, which turns into revenue. So before I get started kind of digging into some of these areas, any questions so far? David, do you want to, I can't really see the screen. I'd have to minimize this and go back to the Zoom call, but do you have any questions there that you can read out for me and I can answer, or does anybody want to just ask a question?
Yeah, if anybody's going to ask, not everybody's muted, so make sure you unmute yourself. Anybody questions?
All right. Yes. All right, cool. Well, as questions come aboard, either ask them and I'll stop and answer them, or you can also wait till the end and we can have an open Q&A session at that point. So I talk a lot about, kind of how we've structured this to really kind of mirror what's happening from a sales side. One of the things that we noticed, very early in this is that funnel, or the online sales funnel, is really kind of the way that it's sort of become the norm, right? Whether you're a cars.com shopper, car gurus, whether you're on a dealership's website, we really kind of have taken them along the same path from what we call our online sales funnel. You've got your search results page, which, or what the acronym is, an SRP. what that really is, for maybe guys that haven't been on the sales side, is just if you're in a dealership for, let's say, a Ford store, and you've got 30 F-150s on your lot, and a customer wants to start looking at F-150s, they will go into what we call the search results page. They'll pull up all the F-150s, and now they can sort of scroll through, or maybe they're looking for a used car and they want to look for cars under 20 grand, so they can start that process through what we call the SRP. And then when a customer wants to actually get a little closer, a deeper dive into one particular vehicle, they simply click on that vehicle. It then drives them into a new page called a vehicle detail page, or a VDP. And then from there, we're obviously trying to convert them to a lead, whether it's a phone call, maybe a form submission chat. The sales side has a lot of different mousetraps to try to get that customer to engage and start to get some information so they can start that relationship and start that conversation towards a sale. Now, when we started to really look at this from a digital standpoint, from an online standpoint, we really realized that there just wasn't that same funnel that was available to the service customer. So that's sort of how we came about what we call our drive service solution, is that we created our own online service funnel. What I mean by that is, and I'll get into these as we move forward here, SMP to an SDP to a conversion. So I look at this SMP, or what we call our service menu page, as sort of the same type of approach as an SRP is in sales, where instead of looking at 50 F-150s or 50 used cars under 20 grand, a customer might want to come to the website and say, hey, what services does the dealership have available to keep my car running longer and keep it running in good condition longer? Because more and more people are keeping their cars longer. I saw a slide this weekend in Fort Lauderdale that the trade cycle has almost doubled in the last 5 years, which means that instead of people trading every 3.5, 4 years, it's actually up in the 7-year mark now. So as warranties expire, as people are looking for ways to keep their car running a little bit longer,
Hey, Owen,
having those services, yes.
people are holding on to their cars over 11 years now.
Is it 11? Okay. Yeah, and I don't know if that was a new car slide they gave me, or if that was, I don't know, it wasn't my staff, but 11 years is a lot, which means you got a lot of opportunity to make a lot of money. But the problem is, let's be honest, Toyota's prepay program ends in 3 years. There's 8 more years of profit there that you guys can make, and yet we have almost zero representation on our website or online to help us, conquest, I guess you could say, or to help get some of that business. So
Well, here's
what
the
we do
funny
is with the
thing. Here's the funny thing.
Say that again?
Here's the funny thing. Only about 18% of customers return back to their dealer for servicing. And that includes all of the people that get maintenance included for 2 years free. I mean, think about that. Somebody would rather go to somebody in the aftermarket that they trust and spend money to get their car serviced instead of going back to their selling dealer where they can get it for free.
Yeah.
Wow, it's good. That's not only a great stat, it's also a horrific stat, right?
Yeah.
So
Paul, in
no doubt.
the world, it's actually under the 2-year maintenance, it's over 50%, and most of the stores that we work with are in the 60 to 70%, which is still horrible considering that it's free, to your point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
an
and again,
across the industry stat.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, and guys, look, there's stats every stuff like give me 3 or 4 sources, and if they all kind of tell in the same I guess you could say the same story, there's got to be some truth to it. And you right there, guys, both, even though you had different numbers, we all kind of had different numbers from what we've seen. It all definitely ties back to that we are losing the battle, especially when it comes to independence. And so the idea is if you get more services online, we then kind of drill them down. Let's say they want to look at an alignment service and they want a little more information about that particular service. We then drill them down into what we call an SDP, or a service detail page, very equivalent to a vehicle detail page, where they're just looking at one service. They're trying to get more information about that. and then of course trying to convert them, all the way down to that particular service to either call you to set up an appointment, obviously schedule an online appointment, maybe communicate through text message, or we also have a product called Dealer Wallet that I'll talk about a little bit. But let's talk a little bit about what our service menu page is. It's an acronym that I think is becoming more. We've kind of developed it about a year and a half ago, becoming more and more popular with some of the vendors out there. But at the very core of it, really what it is, it's a way for us to really showcase your dealership. I think that one of the things that I've noticed over the years is, you have to set yourself apart, right? They used to call it a unique selling position. Now we call it like a why buy. I like to call it a why service. Why should people come to your dealership to get service, as opposed to maybe going to some of those other options that we've all kind of talked about here. So what we do with our service menu page is we'll actually take over your dealership's website when it comes to sort of the maintenance and sort of the vision and kind of executing your marketing strategy from a digital standpoint. So we focus on 12 to 15 of your most common services. I like to break them into 3 different sections. It's your OEM specials. Obviously, OEMs are always coming out with different ways for you to get your information, right? So, or to get something out there. Maybe it's a tire special. Maybe it's a discount on some specific service into a different seasonality. Tires are always a big one for that, in the fall and things like that. But the idea is that if the OEM comes out with something, we want to make sure that we're showcasing that, because chances are they've got other marketing behind it. And so all you're doing is reinforcing that marketing that the OEM is paying for. The next thing I always focus on is general services. I would say general services are your oil change, your batteries, your tire rotations. These are the things that are your common services. They're happening over and over and over the course of that ownership. But they're starting from day one, that type of thing. The last one that we really have focused on is late ownership services.
Hey, Owen.
It's where, yes.
You're I don't know change the screen, but it's for us. It's stuck on that Fixed Ops Digital Revolution slide. Even if I can't see your cursor moving at all. And now,
How's that?
Now we're back looking at you.
Huh? I don't know what's going on, man. I just brought up. Hold on.
It was going through until that Service Revolution slide, and then it got stuck there.
So have you guys been able to see any of my slides?
No, not since that one. Not since slide 11.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I've been going through. How's that?
It's just a black screen right now.
Huh. Okay.
Says you're screen sharing, but it's only showing a black screen. Now it's you.
Okay, let's try this. Sorry about that. I should have done a little testing on this maybe before we got here. All right, can you see my screen now?
Nope, we're still looking.
Still seeing me? Let me see if I can stop the video. How's that? Now can you see my screen?
Nope. Now we can just see your name.
Okay, well that's where I was at, so hold on a second. How about, see this?
No, sir. Nothing's changing. That's strange.
Yeah. Let's see if that does it.
Now I can see the cursor, and I see me on the screen.
All right, hold on a second. Yeah, I don't know what's going on because I go to share my screen. It says your entire screen. I click on it, and now it says you're sharing us the screen.
Yeah, and it says it's screen sharing, but it's only showing a blank screen. Technical difficulties tonight.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know what to tell you. I just how's that? Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, now I can see where can we win.
Okay. Well, that's where I need to be. But here, so let me. So we got past this, right?
Yeah.
There, is that better now?
That's better. Now we can see it.
Cool. Well, I don't know what just happened there, but hopefully everybody can see that. So yeah, so going back to kind of the service menu page, it's 12 to 15 of your most common services. It's those three different kind of layers that we really focus on. Again, those late ownership services are crucial, not only for customer retention, but also, let's be honest, they're the more expensive services. Your alignment service, your your transmission flushes, your engines, anything that's going to happen a little later in that ownership. Obviously, is a couple things. First off, it's a customer always feels really good about their decision when they have a warranty. Where they start to have that negative sort of maybe thought processes once the warranty's up, and now all of a sudden they've got to try to pay for some of these services. So the hope with the way we do this on your website and also throughout content and things like that I'll get into a little bit is to try to ease that friction, right? I mean, if somebody goes on your website and they know that every 15,000 miles, it's recommended that they get an alignment check or they get an alignment service, and they've had their car for 60,000 miles and have never done it, don't you think that might be a good conversation point that when either your advisor brings it up, or more importantly, maybe the customer comes to him or her and says, hey, I've never had this service done. Seems like it might be something I should look at. Do you want to take a quick, check for me and see if my vehicle needs that particular service? I'm using alignment as the example, but it could be anything.
And another.
That's ultimately.
Tony was asking a question in the text and asking if it would be a benefit to market services around the type of weather or other events that are actually going on that would trigger immediate action when they were searching on the website. So is that something that you work off of also, or?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something I didn't have on this, but usually like a couple times a year as the seasons change, what we do is we move those more seasonality specials to the top, because obviously a lot of our traffic is mobile. So, we have to build our infrastructure inside the dealership website, and we really build it for more that mobile customer. So he's absolutely right. You start getting into I'm up here in the Midwest. It's cold here. It's 10 degrees. We've got Christmas coming, but I guarantee you the moment January hits and all of a sudden we're down to 0 degrees here, guess what's dying? Batteries, right? Tires. You got to make sure we got tires for these icy conditions, stuff like that. So yeah, absolutely. The more of those type of services we can get out there during the time frame. But even if you're in a market where it's colder and you've got an AC performance check, you may not want to get rid of it. We don't want to take it down. We just may want to move it so it's not so predominant in the winter months, that type of thing. So yeah, absolutely. And that's something that like my accounts team works with our fix ops and service managers every week and every month to really fine tune that strategy and kind of what's going on, from not only an OEM standpoint, a market standpoint, but then obviously what's going on with our calendar year as well. So great question, and definitely relevant. So the next thing we want to focus on is clear and transparent pricing. I think this is something that the dealership community has sort of adapted, and I think it's slowly starting to change now with a lot of it kind of we're sort of leading that charge, but going away from a $5 off an oil change, or maybe a $10 off an oil change, or $100 off a window tint, trying to be more, hey, what is the price? Because again, as we're trying to build value, as we're trying to build trust, for someone to say, hey, I can can get a $10 off an oil change at so-and-so dealership, in a lot of times in the consumer's mind, that means they're $10 off twice as expensive, right? So what does $10 really mean? It doesn't mean anything to a consumer that already believes that you guys, offer a good value at a very premium price. So we just want customers to understand that, hey, our alignment service in most cases is going to be very comparable to another independent down the road. The difference is you're getting what? You're getting better equipment, technology, and you're getting certified technicians that all they do all day long is not only work on the type of vehicle that you have, Mr. or Mrs. Customer, but we're also trained, we're being certified. These are all the reasons why people should come to your to your dealership anyways, but we just got to make sure that we are using pricing as a motivator, not a deterrent, I guess you could say. The last thing, and I already kind of mentioned it, was OEM recommendations. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Dave, I just got your text. Yeah, so ours doesn't make any changes on the fly. The reason why is that we're not using software. We don't necessarily want to build software and inject it into your website, because then Google can't read it. And obviously when they can't read what's on the page, although you've got some great information that can be there, unfortunately, it's not going to help you reach more of those customers that are out there searching for you that might not know about you today. So by building it on your actual website, we get a more what we call organic approach. And the organic approach is really what drives the growth in the next few areas of what we're going to talk about. So good question, but no, ours doesn't change on your website automatically based on what's going on. The last thing then is a clear conversion path. And we kind of talked about some of the things that we're doing, but I'll kind of get in that a little bit more as we go here. So let's talk a little bit about more services, education recommendation. I always kind of throw up a couple examples, right? On the left-hand side, you've got kind of our look and feel, what we're doing from a agency perspective to really showcase that service. On the right-hand side, I believe this is probably a dealer.com coupon builder that they have on the back end of theirs. And if you notice, just the look and the feel, I believe, is a lot better. But even if you said, well, what the heck, they both get the information out there, I don't really care, that type of thing. I think that email a friend and print are probably two of the most not only outdated but I guess you could say just unimportant call to actions that you get at a dealership or a customer that's looking for service. I don't know anybody that's emailing friends showing them that they can get a X amount of dollars off or on an oil change. It doesn't merit that type of an engagement when you start looking from the service side. And obviously print is one of those things that, and I'll talk about kind of our print replacement product here in a little bit, but print was really big back when everybody was on desktop. Obviously, you could print coupons, whether it be to a restaurant, a bar, an automotive service center, whatever. But most of the website traffic these days is coming through a smartphone or a tablet, and so printing has sort of become outdated.
It's wasted digital real estate.
Absolutely. There you go. You said it best. So then let's talk about the next part of that. So let's say, and it kind of goes together, right? You build all these services online, you get all this information out there so your customers know it's there. Now we want to use that to let Google pick it up and start to build more online visibility. This example is just simply an IKEA store that we work with down in Atlanta that we track hundreds of keywords that tell us kind of sort of where you guys as a dealership sort of our starting point, right? Kind of like our ground zero. This is where we're at. This is where we're going. If you notice, this graph has steadily increased over a 5-6 month period. And all that really means is that when somebody goes on to Google, Bing, one of these search engines and is looking for a service that your dealership offers, that we're actually showing up in those search results. Here's another example of kind of what that looks like from a report standpoint. In this particular report, you're going to see number one is Toyota windshield wiper replacement service. Well, this is for a Toyota store in the Midwest, and on June 22nd, they did not rank at all for that particular service, that particular search term. Now, we built a page out, we optimized it, we did all the things that we do kind of behind the curtain, and it took a couple months. I mean, it wasn't like it happened overnight, but on September 19th, when we ran this program, this report again, we were actually showing up number one organically. Now, for those of you that don't maybe necessarily understand all this digital stuff and all that, because your job is to work with people and build revenue through services and make sure your customers are happy. The idea behind this is that if we optimize the page and we get that particular page for the windshield wiper replacement service on your website, Google will index it. It'll start to move up the rankings. When we get you in those top 2 or 3 positions, that's where 90% of all the clicks come from. So by getting him the number one, now granted, this, it's not like sales where there's going to be thousands of visitors looking for vehicles and they're just out kind of window shopping and that sort of thing. This is strictly going to be a situation where I have a problem, right? I raise my hand, my windshield wipers broke. Who can replace these? And when I go there and I type in Toyota windshield wiper replacement service and I hit go, and when Google brings my Toyota store up as number one, the customer right away goes, that's the authority, because that's what Google has told me is the authority. And now I can go ahead and call them because I know that based on what Google's telling me, there's no other options that are going to be as good as going to my local Toyota store. Same thing with the next one, Toyota radiator service, right? You get something wrong with your radiator, all of a sudden you're calling in. Got them to number 2. They're going to see the dealership and go, oh, that's right, that dealership's a mile away, down the block, whatever. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to call them, or at least they're going to click on your website and bring them in. And when we have a matching page that really kind of ties into that, that's where we see the ultimate connection with the customers. So that's kind of it from a visibility standpoint, right? Getting all those services out there, making sure that you guys have more services online that Google can pick up and therefore your customers can find. But the next thing we want to talk about is sort of that next level, which is what we call our service detail pages. It's really taking that customer that doesn't understand four-wheel alignment and doesn't understand what that service really is, kind of why you need that service. Also, part of our strategy is to make sure that we say why they need to get it with the dealership that we're working with, because we do offer some exclusivity by brand, which means that if you're a Ford store in, say, Louisville, Texas, we won't work with any other Ford store within a 20-mile radius of your store. The good thing about that is that not a lot of people drive very far for service, right? I mean, Toyota has a PMA of 14 miles. At least that's what I heard from another Toyota store recently. And the idea is that these are going to help you catch more of those customers that are outside your PMA. And so we want to really, like I said, bring you in as the authority for that particular service. So when it comes to service detail pages, I really break it down into 4 key things. Again, more information and education. We've talked a little bit about that. Your why service, right? Why should someone service with you? What amenities do you offer? Let's show some nice pictures of your dealership. Let's make sure that we have those that information out there so customers can really get to know you before they even make that phone call into your department. Then obviously from there, you guys got to have processes and services that allow you to capture that relationship and cultivate it. All my program does and all Fixed Ops Digital is really responsible for is making sure that we give you that visibility and drive more of those people into your environment. From there, you guys take it from there. So the third thing is video integration. I'm a big believer in trying to have more options for customers because, like, I'm not a big reader, but I'll listen to books on tape. I'll listen to podcasts. I love to go to conferences because I sit there and listen to the speakers and I take notes. I take pictures. I do a lot of things myself to kind of organize the information. But some people don't like video; they like to read. So bringing in video and explaining sort of what you're talking about on that page, that four-wheel alignment, why it's important, why they should come to your dealership. I think video is very important for that reason. It's also important because Google owns YouTube. And if you have a YouTube video attached to some of your content, it helps you from an SEO standpoint. And that's kind of the last thing that I'm talking about with the service service detail page. It's just making sure that content is unique. A lot of the OEMs are now starting to provide kind of a bundled number of pages that the dealership can throw up on their website, and they can say, there, Mr. Franchise owner, dealership owner, I've given you 10 pages with oil change, batteries, tire rotations, and now we can go back to selling cars. The challenge is that when they send that same block of, pages to everybody, that actually hurts you from an organic standpoint, because there's a thing called duplicate content. Duplicate content is very, very important, that you do not want it. And so everything that we do is unique to the dealership that we're working for. And ultimately we don't put our dealerships in that situation where we built content that we built for 30 other dealerships, and now Google's picking that up and saying, well, that's not unique. So that they actually lose, authority when it comes to the particular searches and things like that. So hopefully that makes sense. I know that's getting really deep into some of this SEO stuff and that type of thing. And, again, it's kind of the magic, sort of, I don't want to say magic, but it's sort of our formula, right? Everybody can bake a cake, but it's what you do with the ingredients, how you put the ingredients together, when you bring them together, that really decide if that cake's going to be a award winner or if it's going to be just an average cake. And so no different with SEO. It's all about how you put it together, how you align everything, how you structure it, what I call structuring the data or structuring the content to really maximize the opportunity for your store. So what happens when
applying the frosting?
Yeah, exactly. Good point. So what happens when we do everything right? We put that perfect ingredients together, we threw it in the oven, and now we've got the perfect cake. Well, the perfect cake in the fixed ops world is more opportunities in your dealership. And so this right here is just a quick look at one particular client that I use in just sort of to kind of show you what we do time over time with our clients. And it's really just driving more people into your environment, right? I mean, what would happen every day if you had, 100 people walk through your dealership and say, hey, I need a service done. That's kind of what we're doing, but we're doing it through your website because, obviously nobody has a program out there that's just going to start getting people to show up and want services, but we can help that process by driving more people into your website, because some of that's going to obviously trickle down into opportunities for your department. Whether it's phone calls, again, online scheduling, or at the very least, dealer or, helping somebody, sort of get the information without actually setting that appointment. And we have a product called Dealer Wallet that I'll talk to you about in a little bit. But you can see with this particular report that within 90 days, we doubled the amount of organic fixed ops page views that were actually on the dealership's website. And actually the next month, we even increased it even more. So this isn't, abnormal. This isn't something that I just pulled out one stat and said, hey, here's the one I'm going to use. We see this all the time. So what it really has told me as a marketer or as a student of this industry that's trying to, make sure that I'm doing the best things for my dealership partners is that this traffic already existed. People were already online searching for other ways for them to get their services done. And only thing that was different is that they weren't finding you. They weren't finding the dealerships because we didn't give them a reason to find us. And so now all we're doing is I look at it as we're taking what's rightfully ours back. And that is, we want to, when people go in looking for specific services, we want to make sure that your dealership is getting featured there, that you become the authority. And then obviously we bring them in your website where we start to, give them more opportunities to work with your team.
Owen?
Yes.
The numbers look pretty strong. It's almost tripled from April through August. Have you been able to track in-store attribution to these numbers?
Because it's SEO and because it's organic, we don't actually get into trickle it down all the way to like phone call. I mean, we track phone calls. We track how many times people have come into your service online scheduling page. We can track how many wallet downloads we have. but we really are working with our stores very closely to get information from them. They have, you guys have resources to be able to tell you like how many ROs you're doing, maybe year over year, quarter over quarter, month over month. We also look at the types of ROs. So if our fixed ops directors are telling us that, hey, we weren't doing really any late ownership services, and now that we have that focus on our website, we've seen that increase. Those are the kind of things that we are able to track right now. And I know look, we haven't had a lot of cancellations in 2 years. Part of it might be because the dealerships are busy anyways. So like this isn't nearly as, I wouldn't say it's not as important because it's definitely more important than ever. But a lot of times from the sales side is that if something is not working or they don't feel like they saw an uptick in sales, they have to sort of revamp their stuff a lot. With this, well, we're not necessarily revamping how busy you are because everyone's busy and everyone has capacity problems and things like that. We're just sort of changing what services that we're focusing on, because I don't know about everybody that's on this tonight, but most oil change services are not making us any money. They're loss leaders. They're sort of the get them in and build a relationship. Exactly, they're a relationship builder. We don't want to bring you more oil changes. Our goal is to bring you more profitability. And so yeah, my accounts team is very seasoned. They come from a long line of being in store and then working at different vendors. And that's one of the things that we really focus on with our monthly performance calls and just sort of, with that overall conversations that we're having with our guys is, hey, how are you, what are you seeing from a profitability standpoint? What are you seeing from an RO standpoint? That type of thing. We just don't, we're not able to drill it all the way down because a lot of times your traffic that's coming in is very, in a lot of cases, it's invisible, right? You don't know who, they don't know that I was on the website and then I'm the one that came in and maybe, from there actually, booked a certain service. So ours is really strictly I guess you could say a SEO play, a traffic play, a visibility play, that type of thing, which is probably more important than ever. But obviously, as we continue to evolve this, we're going to look for more ways to be able to bring our stuff all the way through to that final attribution.
So you have Google Analytics access, but not necessarily DMS access.
Yeah, and they don't necessarily talk when you start talking organic. If you're talking digital marketing with like UTM codes and things like that, things that you can drive in from, say, Google AdWords and stuff like that, you can get a little bit more down with I know Google's just kind of rolling this out. I don't think it's even available to everybody at this point, but showroom attribution is a big piece of what they're talking about. But again, it's only about the ads that they're running. Anything organic like that just doesn't have the same user flow all the way to the end result, which is, I can actually put Owen Moon that clicked on a page and actually then made himself into the dealership. I mean, you can do it some other ways. There's some other ways to sort of back into that with some of the new tracking that's been able to do on a website where you can find out who's been on your website and that type of thing. And you could probably back that into an actual RO. But just from a strictly user flow, or I guess you could say strategy flow, it isn't available, I guess. So this is kind of what it looks like when you start like actually looking on the website or on Google, right? So in this particular case, our client is the letter C, which is in Florissant. That's a suburb of St. Louis. It's north. Anything that has to do with the word Florissant and Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, they're going to probably come up, right? Either it's going to be their scheduled service page, maybe it'll be their home page. It just, they are the authority up in that area for Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Chrysler, anything to do with sales and service for that particular brand. But if you notice in the search term, I put St. Louis. St. Louis is a much broader term, and there's a lot more competition. But if you type in Dodge Transmission Service, St. Louis, Missouri, our client comes up number one, and number one's going to get 90% of all the clicks. So that is the ultimate goal for hundreds upon hundreds of organic type of search terms that a customer would be looking for. If we can get your dealership to show up for those, again, that's where we turn around and then get the click, and then we're bringing them into the the website. Now, when you start talking about customer experience, I would much rather have that customer drop into an automatic transmission service page than to take them to their home page or to take them to even a scheduled service page. Because first off, if you're taking them to a scheduled service page, it might be too soon for that customer to make that decision today. And ultimately, if you bring them into a service specials page that's only got $10 off an oil change and maybe even nothing that says, hey, check back later, how long do customers usually stick around, right? So what we want to do is drive that customer into an environment where he's looking for a transmission service for a particular brand, and we want to make sure that we provide them with the right content to get him closer. Again, all of this is building trust. This is all a trust building, especially when it comes to online, because online it's harder to build trust. This is just sort of helping us really cement ourselves as the authority and as the trusting authority in the market. The last thing I want to talk about when it comes to sort of the whole digital solution, or our drive service solution, I guess you could say, is kind of moving past that print coupon. I think someone said it's a waste a little bit ago. It definitely is, because as I said, up to 80%, I mean, mostly it's like 60 to 70. I've seen as much as high as 80, 85% of all consumer traffic for service being mobile. So what we've done is as technology has sort of caught up, as iPhones and the Androids have started to include these apps as part of their default. For example, any of the iPhones you buy today are automatically going to have Apple Wallet in it. And I use Apple Wallet all the time for like airline tickets. I put all my movie passes in it. I've actually downloaded all my Minnesota Vikings season tickets into the Apple Wallet, because then I don't have to worry about bringing anything with me, right? I know I have my Apple Wallet right in my phone. I can bring it up. I can scan my airline ticket, and they'll let me on the plane. No different with what we're doing with service. We want to be able to let customer that doesn't want to call you today, he's not ready to schedule that appointment through either a phone call or through an online environment, but he wants to make sure he remembers that, hey, you would do an alignment service for $100. So what he can do is he can download that pass right into his Apple Wallet, and now he's got it there, just like he would if he was printing a coupon. The only advantage for us is that because he's got that pass now on his phone, we can actually track him, track his phone, track that download, and we can actually send him a push notification in different scenarios. One of the scenarios is he shows up at your dealership. We send him a little welcome notification thanking him for coming and letting him know that if he doesn't have a 5-star service experience, to see David Foy, our service manager. The other thing we can do, though, is we can use it as that kind of that point of defection, right? If somebody is going down to a discount tire down the road, we can, and they have a buy 3 tires, get a 4th one for $1 service coupon in their phone, we can pop that push notification up reminding them that they can get their 4th tire from you for $1. You know, again, it might not change the outcome because the guy might already be there. For whatever reason, he's decided that it's time for him to go ahead and kind of defect away from the dealership and get his service done through one of the independents. But at the very least, we can try to win that customer back by at least hitting them with a push notification before it's too late. And so we have thousands upon thousands of these downloaded all across the country and in Canada. And again, they're all, kind of with that custom messaging that can be tailored to whatever competitor that we want it to be. So we call it Dealer Wallet. Again, it's using the Apple Wallet technology as sort of its driver, and it's been a good thing for us because again, your service customer is a little bit different. They don't necessarily want a bunch of text messages. They're not trying to get a bunch of emails. So I know there's a bunch of companies out there coming out with software and different ways to sort of, be like, hey, we've got 42 different conversion points. We don't need that in service. I got a client, I was showing that client with all those fix ops page views. He's got like 6 or 7 stores. he fields over 6,000 service calls a month. I mean, imagine if every one of those persons also had a text message and an email. I mean, it gets to be a little overwhelming, not only for this dealership, but also for the consumer. The consumer doesn't, they know that if they want to set an appointment, they can pick up the phone and call you, or they can go online and do an online scheduler. They don't need to have all these different call to actions like you do from a sales standpoint. At least that's what we're finding in our environment and kind of what our fixed ops directors are telling us as we're working with them. So why is all this important? I'll kind of close with just some key stats, and I've alluded to some of these, but because it really does to kind of tie into all the reason why we do what we do. But 65% of customers say that their service experience has a direct influence on their next vehicle purchase. That's huge, which means that not only do we need to make sure that we're getting more customers coming back, that we're giving them the education, but ultimately, guys, this falls on you, right? You guys have to provide an environment that when they get there, that they feel welcomed, they're getting the education, they're getting the information to them in a way that they can process it and make a good decision on services that they might need. And even if they don't, the follow-up from that can be even better when you start to use some of the content that we provide. Here's an example. Somebody turns down an alignment service. You know that their car's out of alignment, they really need it, but you know what? They didn't come in looking for that service. They might not have $149 to get that service done. Somebody who does the follow-up could send them an email telling them, hey, I understand you turned down an alignment service. Here's a link to why that service is really important for your car and kind of the way it's going to affect your tires and sort of cost you more money in the long run. You can use the content that we build on your website for so many different ways. Email blasts, CRM emails. Again, you can put it in a chat window. There's a lot of different ways that our customers are using the content that we build outside of that very organic situation that I've explained pretty in detail tonight. And then the last thing is that only 30% of service visits are happening at a dealership after the warranty expires. Again, we already talked about it, but I just want to kind of reiterate it. Not only is that important because you lose that customer in service, you now have to become it now has to be a customer that you conquest back for sales. And one of the dealerships I work with says that that if they lose a customer, the chances of them getting them back as a sales customer drastically drops because they're not a dealership that maybe is playing the price game or some of the strategies that some of these dealerships have on the sales side is causing a lot of issues for dealerships that maybe don't want to get as aggressive on their pricing or what have you. So to be able to keep some of these dealerships kind of moving or keep these customers coming back after the warranty expires, I believe is more important than ever, not only from a revenue standpoint for you guys as fixed ops managers, service managers, but also for that dealership, because it's just like anything, right? They come back, they buy another car, it starts that process over again. It's so much cheaper to keep that customer than it is to go get a new one. And really, why is that important? Because when you look at independent shops, again, price and convenience, I'll just kind of reiterate that. That's what they're focused on. We have to be focused on quality and trust. But when you look at kind of how you do that and how you go about making that happen, especially from a digital or from a website standpoint, it has to be done through education, information, recommendations, that type of thing. And ultimately, that's what Fixed Ops Digital does for their clients. And as a client of mine, sales is temporary, service is forever. I think that the biggest thing is just to make sure that whether you work with a company like Fixed Ops Digital or you're looking at other resources, that you are putting a full solution in play and making sure that that you guys are preparing yourself for not only 2020 but obviously for years to come. And so we'd love to have you guys, anybody that's in this group, join our team, become a dealer partner of ours. In fact, David and I, so for those that don't know, and I'm sure most of you do, I locked in with David early when he was coming out with this fixed ops mastermind. I said, look, we want to be your vendor partner. We'll help you build the website because we really believe in what you're doing. We want to create a foundation for different members and things like that. We don't get paid at all for it. Obviously, David mentioned at the beginning this partner, so we're excited for that because now we can actually show him, from a client level, kind of what we're all about. But David and I are going to work on some ways that maybe we can all work with you guys and maybe give you a special price for because you are a fixed ops mastermind customer or member, and so maybe we'll be bringing that out here in the coming weeks as we kind of move into 2020 here. So that's kind of all I had. Any questions? David, do you want to shoot me some questions that maybe might be on the top of people's thought process that they aren't maybe maybe not asking?
Yeah. I will start with my question. Everybody can hear that echo. Wow, it's like a haunted house. So the question that I was thinking was while you were looking at that digital wallet. So is that what's called geofencing when you have it where people where you send out that push notification when they get either close to the dealership or close to somebody else that's selling tires? Is that the same thing? A push the push notification that you put out, is that called geofencing?
Yeah, geofence, that is definitely a form of geofencing. Geofencing is kind of one of those, it's kind of a buzzword, right? And the reason I say that is because there's other ways that you can geofence. There's ways to do it where you can use like the app networks and mobile websites and things like that to sort of get your message out there. This is really kind of a combination of geofencing with push notifications because we are targeting certain specific areas. So like in your market, you might have other Nissan stores, you might have a Honda store, you might have a Pep Boys right down the road. If we geofence those areas, they actually have to have the app or one of the passes in their phone to get that push notification. So ultimately, it's a good thing because you're talking to somebody that's already shown interest in you, and now you're giving them that reinforcement that they need to come back to your store.
Okay, cool. So if I go back to the way that sales does things on the website, so the customer pops in to look at a car, and Paul Meyer pops up in a little box and asks if they want to chat about things. Is that something that you think can benefit a service department, or is that kind of a non-issue?
I think that if they're on your website and, some of these chat providers don't necessarily distinguish between service and sales, but I think if you have a service-driven chat provider that can have that, I think that would always be good. I think that if they're just out in the exploration phase, kind of like on sales, right? If it's too soon in the process, I would say this with Facebook advertising. So kind of backing into this answer a little bit. If you are not on Facebook looking for vehicles, you're on Facebook to keep in touch with your family, maybe watch some videos of things that interest you, that type of thing, and you don't actually, and somebody gets an ad in front of them for a car, and they click on that ad because it's caught their attention, it takes them right into a lead form. It's a lot of cases it's too soon, right? So in some cases, I think what you're talking about can be a little. Yes.
It's annoying when it pops up.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. It's not only annoying, but it might be even too soon in the process, right? Because that customer is simply looking for information, and now you're trying to bug them to chat with you or whatever. It might actually deter them and keep them from actually coming back, to you when they're ready to talk to you. So. Look, I can't speak for every customer because all the customers obviously are all different, but if you start putting things into groups and kind of saying, hey, what are the masses looking for? I would say that you want to save your your correspondence with your customers when they're actually on your website. Because now you know that you've got a captive person that's interested, and that's when that's when the relationship starts.
Okay, cool.
Hey, Owen, do you guys do anything with video?
Yeah, so we are. One thing I didn't mention, and let me pull this up. I don't know. Can you guys still see my? Let's see here. So I just had these conversations with my team when I was out there. So can you guys see my screen still?
Nope.
All right, let's see if I can do this again.
There you go.
Is that popping up?
Yeah.
So today, this is kind of what I talked about, right? Our drive service solution, which is service menu page, dealer wallet, and then our drive service SEO or our content. Where we're going for 2020 is we're just going to start getting very granular in our approach. What I mean by that is that our drive service recalls is an actual product that we are launching. As I just got, like I said, I was just out with my team kind of finalizing all the details on it. We're going to really go after the recall market. We want our dealerships to be getting more of that action that when they want to, a lot of these brands are coming out with a lot of recalls. And so to have an actual strategy tied into the website and how to drive more of that recall business, people have been asking us about it, so we're finally launching it. To answer your question, our drive service video product is all about done. Again, we're going to start rolling this out to some of our current customers at first. But the idea behind it is that if we can do video that matches what's going on the actual page when it comes to content, we're going to find ourselves, giving that customer a much better experience when they get to your website. So video is definitely on the horizon. Another thing that we're focusing on is we call GMB. We call it Drive Service GMB. GMB stands for Google My Business. It's basically your local search. So if someone typed in your name, let's say, for example, into Google and didn't use a URL, and it popped up with that little like local search with your information, your phone number, your hours, things like that. That's called Google My Business, and it's becoming a much more predominant way for dealerships to really take advantage of free traffic. And so we are optimizing GMB pages for a lot of our dealerships, and that's going to be something that we're going to continue to focus on as we move into 2020 as well. So anyways, I just wanted to kind of give you guys an idea of kind of where we're going and what we're doing as our company continues to scale and get better and really get more granular with what we're doing, because just like on the sales side, and I've done this almost 20 years now, one of my 20th year working with stores, a lot of our clients are the ones that are really telling us, what's important, how we can, what we can do better, what they actually need. I hate vendors that say, hey, I don't care what you need, Mr. Dealer, we built this, so you should use this. That's not me, and that's never been me. And so everything that I do usually comes from my inner circle of, and I'm not talking like dealerships that have like one store. I've got guys that have 7, 8, 10 stores, and they're in some of the most competitive markets in the country, and they're the ones that I really lean on for, conversation and kind of what are they seeing and that type of thing. Because I figure if it works for them, I can make that work for most dealerships in America that maybe don't have quite as much competition as these guys have. So, great question.
Hey, Owen?
Yes.
Do you know across the board of all your dealerships what the average mileage is of the car that comes into their service department?
I don't, but that's actually a really good question. I would say that that's something that I could probably get from the manufacturer's side, because I'm sure they'd have that data. I'm not sure if there's a way to get that data at a dealership level, but again, if that's something that the dealerships can get from different vendors or areas, we would use that in some of our strategy conversations. But I have not seen anything like that at this point. Good question.
Because we talk about customers defecting after the warranty periods are over, and we know that the current stats are 70% of the customers go to some place other than the dealer for service. You know, we have warranties available for cars up to 20 years old with up to 150,000 miles on them. So you talk about a retention builder where you've got a 40, 45 mile tie back to the dealership on any warranty service. That's pretty strong to keep the people coming back to the store.
No, you're absolutely right. And to that, not to speak so much on the warranty, because obviously that's just one piece of an option for the dealer.
Yeah.
But you hit a point that I wanted to make sure I made. We integrate with everybody. So, for example, there's companies out there right now that say, hey, you can't afford your $3,000 bill, we'll finance you. Here's a way for you to put that on a monthly payment. Not that that's great for the customer, but hey, if the customer's got to get to work and they don't want to buy another car, maybe making a $50 or $100 a month payment is better than not getting that car fixed and not being able to go to work. Your extended warranty situation, if you got a dealership that it has extended warranty options, maybe that's something that we include in the content that we deliver. That hey, you want to keep your warranty going longer? Ask us how. Other things that I've seen us integrate is stuff like text to drive or other type of CTA, or I guess I could say conversion type of companies. We've integrated with them. I've integrated video that's come from the OEMs. Really, the idea behind what we do is to be sort of that neutral player for the dealerships. I don't want to ever say, hey, we're not going to integrate with text to drive, because text to drive is simply another way for a customer to connect with with the dealership. And so why wouldn't we put that out on our content that we're building for the dealer? Yeah, we don't necessarily take the credit for the conversion, but if somebody, dealerships are not stupid, they know that if, hey, we've doubled our text to drives in the last 90 days, and the only thing we different is we started building out more content, you can obviously do the math and say that's a direct correlation. By us getting that stuff out there, it's creating more opportunities. So really that why service with us, kind of bringing that back, or the amenities idea, we will integrate with a lot of different things if the dealership wants us to. And because at the end of the day, it's your business. It's your business goals. What are you trying to accomplish? All we're going to do is create more real estate for you to be able to showcase all of those different options.
Yeah, and Owen, you mentioned that early on that a lot of or Sleepy Stan is afraid of technology. I think the point that you hit on was that technology is a piece of the puzzle. It's certainly not going to fix every problem that you have, and it's certainly not going to fix that your technology might drive more customers into the store, and that we don't convert those customers and take care of those customers and retain those customers. No technology in the world is going to make that happen. So we can be effectively using the technology that is available to us, like yours, to drive customers in there, and other technology, menu technologies that are out there to maximize the customer value when they're there, while having integrity doing that. Obviously we want to make as much money as possible, but we don't want to drive customers away. We want to, advise them on what their vehicles need and do what's needed for that day without selling them things they don't need, and to use the technology to properly do that.
Yeah, great points. And that's the same on sales too, right? I mean, there's so much technology out there. In fact, in some ways, I think it's actually crippled dealerships. I know a lot of dealerships that have sort of unwound some of all this technology and just got back to the basics. I think that the service department's in a good spot because, not to say you guys are at the basics, but you haven't been inundated with all this technology for so many years that in some cases, I got managers can't even see straight because they don't know what techniques, like this technology is supposed to help this technology, is supposed to do this. And before you know it, they're like, okay, we haven't sold any cars because we're too busy looking at technology and trying to figure out how to make it all work. I think that's one of the things that I really like about our product that we have brought into the dealership. That you guys don't have to do a lot. I'm not asking you to go in and spend 6 hours a week managing the technology. All we want is that monthly call, or maybe even after we go on that bi-monthly call, where we can talk about the results, we can look at kind of where we're going, and then we can talk a little bit about your business and find out, where are the opportunities? What are you seeing? Are you noticing that you're not getting as much as this type of service that you used to? Maybe it's a pricing problem. Again, a lot of the stuff is stuff that we don't necessarily control because we're simply the agency kind of putting it together. But look, if you're a good operator and you know how to run your business, we're going to maximize your opportunities through our programs. And that's that's not me trying to pitch you guys. Obviously, I'd love to work with each and every one of you, and we just build a monster when it comes to your department and for your market. But ultimately, it comes down to just the reality is that we're here to help our dealerships carry out their mission every day. So.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the problem with a lot of technology that's out there, right? Is that it doesn't work. It doesn't work together. It doesn't integrate together. They were all built separately as all these little pieces, and so that you've got 15 different logins to try and manage your business, and you spend your time doing that rather than actually working on your business. And that's like we had Curtis Nixon on, and that's one of the cool things about Update Promises is how it's integrating a lot of that stuff together, which is something that I think this industry desperately needs is to have to have that stuff tied together so that it's only one place that you're going to try and manage all that stuff.
Absolutely.
That's everybody's favorite at the dealerships, the 100 logins.
Yeah, it's
The piece
I got
of
guys that
paper
pull out
taped
the
to
old
terminal with all the passwords and logins.
Yeah, the laminated 3-ring binder. I've seen that.
Yeah.
What's my password to this piece of software? Oh yeah, here it is.
I guess
Just scream it out across the showroom.
I'm always sweating when I come in and my pin tabs are gone off my Google Chrome login. Like, oh no.
Or I love the mandatory, you need to switch your password. I'm like, no, they all match. No, they don't.
And it can't be the same one you used the last 100 times.
Yeah, exactly. Like my brain function doesn't even to be able to do that many logins.
Yeah, good stuff.
No, but that's, and that is a real problem, not only in this industry, but I think it's getting there in a lot of things. So, we definitely built this with the idea of mind that we want to be as organic as possible. We know that that's the best way to do what we want to do anyways, because I've seen a lot of programs, and I won't bash any companies, but when you're iframing stuff in, when you're dropping script into the pages, you might be getting the end result, which is somebody gets there and they can actually see it, but you're not driving any of those organic opportunities that I think are important. So, we've kind of sacrificed the idea of building technology around getting the results that we need, because as long as we can effectively do it the right way, why cut corners? And I think that's something that we're always going to be striving for. We do have a couple OEM relationships. So, obviously we've, I don't know if I mentioned at the beginning, but we went from 43 clients in January of last year to over 220 right now. So we've had some tremendous growth this year. I think it really it's really played because of the fact that it is a little tighter situation right now on sales, and dealerships have really started to take their fixed ops departments even more seriously than I think they ever have. And I think before it was always the horse that pulled the wagon, but now we want to turn those into thoroughbreds, not just into prancing horses or whatever. You know what I mean? So not a horse guy, but just making an analogy there. But yeah, I think we're poised for a big year, and obviously David, for what you're doing with Fixed Ops Mastermind. Again, just another way to continue to educate and drive awareness and get people all kind of thinking the same when it comes to how to maximize this department. So,
absolutely appreciate that. So if nobody else has any other questions, then we'll wrap this up for the night. All righty. Quiet group tonight. All right.
Right before Christmas.
That's right. So through the Owen stuff may not do magic, but I do magic, and so that's my Fixed Ops digital ad right there on the screen. And again, Owen, I thank you very much for getting in on this early, joining in my vision to bring this to as many Fixed Ops people as we can. They get to see great products like you and Update Promise and BG. And we also dive deep into some great other subjects where we talked about scheduling. We talked about using the data available to you. It's all about becoming a well-rounded Fixed Ops person so that you don't have to go through the struggles that guys like Owen and myself and Paul, Mike Vogel had to leave a few minutes ago. The struggles that we went through to try and get the training and the knowledge that we needed to get to where we are today. We want to be able to help the younger guys get up through the ranks quicker and have more time to enjoy their lives. So I thank everybody for being here and for being part of this. I won't see any of you before Christmas. So Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to every one of you. And thank you for joining us tonight. And everybody, we will see you next time. Good night.
Thanks for having me, David. Merry Christmas, sir. Take care.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
All right, bye-bye.
Good night.